Hey there. This is 12 Jammy Dodgers, if you know me from Reddit. Frusile, if we've played online. And you'll notice the link to this video is downshifted to common. That's going to be my YouTube channel, which I will be making pauper content. I have been working on a primer, so sort of a deck tech sort of thing for green-red slivers. Looks like I can throw that away. Has anyone ever seen this meme before? Is anyone? I don't know. I was thinking about it earlier today. Maybe it's because this deck is my deck, right? Is my deck, right? This is the only one of those you're going to find attached to one of these red-green slivers decks. This is the only 5-0 list you're going to find. So, getting into... Oh, look at this video. This is really neat. Some guys made a deck tech on green-red slivers. Interesting. I wonder if how much experience they have playing the deck. It's actually probably 0. I'm going to make the argument by the end of this video. I'll make it along the way. But I'm going to make an argument here that these guys have never played this deck before in their lives. Right? And I'm going to do my best to prove that as we go through. We're sort of going to hop into what's wrong with this video. Obviously, I'm sort of peeved by it, for obvious reasons. Also because, all right, good, the microphone is recording this time. Also because I recorded this once without my microphone working, so even more frustrated now. Yeah, not cool, guys. Not cool. But my main issues with this is that this is lazy content, and that you guys are acting like you're experts of something you're not, which is bad content. So as far as YouTube goes, this content is lazy and bad. And as far as what you're trying to do with it, it's hilarious because you're acting like experts, and I'm pretty confident you've never played the deck. But let's hop into it. I'll let this guy tell us a few things real fast.
So what is going to be the ideal turn progression?
Well, turn 1 we have 2 options for a 1-drop sliver. We have either the striking sliver or the virulent sliver. Then hopefully turn 2 we can follow it up with another big sliver, muscle sliver, predatory sliver, and so on until we have a very big army that's...
Okay. That's not how games play with green-red slivers, guys. You don't have a very big army. It just doesn't happen. That's a green-white slivers thing. In green-white slivers, you have 12 lords, right? You have predatory sliver, muscle sliver, the white muscle sliver, whose name is eluding me, sinew sliver, I believe. So you have 12 straight-up lords. In this deck, you have 8 straight-up lords. In this deck, you get virulent sliver, and that's the end of the quasi-lord list, right? In green-white slivers, we get 12 quasi-lord. Plated sliver give us the lord effect on the back end, on our defensive stats. Sidewinder sliver makes it so when we rumble, their creatures have -1/-1 on blocking, which works a whole lot like a lord as well in a lot of context. There has to be context for it. So he's a quasi-lord. And then virulent changes from needing to deal 20 to needing to deal 10 effectively because of poison, right? And that's kind of like a lord too. So in green-white slivers, you get 12 lords and you get 12 quasi-lords. In this deck, you get 8 lords and 4 quasi-lords. So, the games do play differently. And the way he just described that is how green-white slivers plays. As someone who's played probably the most of red-green slivers, I feel comfortable saying that out loud. You have a lot more of like haste 2/2s, like just a handful of hasty 2/2s. Usually, you only have 1 lord, because when they kill your lord, it's tough to find another one. In green-white slivers, like they kill your lord, you got 2 or 3 more, because you run more, and you have the quasi-lords as well, and those kind of feel like lords a lot of games. So, games simply don't play out quite like that. What else does he say about this?
Hopefully kills our opponents.
Exactly. So not a very complicated strategy.
Well, it's red and green, so you know what you...
Not a very complicated strategy. All right, so here's the thing. I'm new to YouTube, right? Just bought a microphone and just started this channel. If I were good at YouTube editing, you would be eating these words, all right? I would just go full savage on you, because after the end of every point that I make throughout this video, I would loop back to that comment. Not a tough strategy. Yeah, no, it's easy deck. No, not a tough strategy. All right. Keep that in mind as we go along. That's how these guys see this, right? Oh, this is a simple deck. Yeah, whatever. All right. So that's my end of my broad complaints, right? And now we're going to get into their card choices real fast here to better understand why I think they've never played this deck before. So, 4 Virulent Sliver is fine. It's a good card. You want 4 of those. 4 Striking Sliver, definitely want those. Because we're missing out, though, on Sidewinder Slivers, right? In Green-White Slivers, we have another 4 1-drop Slivers. We want 4 Metallic Slivers in this deck, just for anyone who actually is going to go out and build Green-Red Slivers. Also, as the creator of that deck archetype, I must tell you now, Green-Red Slivers is not a good deck. It's just not a good pauper deck. It would be great in certain metagames. Honestly, I would love this thing in certain metagames. But in the current metagame, you play this deck at your own risk. That's another thing that is actually an issue with this video when they go talking about this deck of theirs, this deck of theirs that they have. There's no warning label. There should be a warning label. Build this deck at your own risk. Especially if you're going to put Gemhide Sliver in it, right? Why would you run 2 Gemhide Slivers? If this is an important card for your archetype, why wouldn't you run more than 2 of? At the end of the day, you're running a 2-color deck, and you shouldn't have those Gemhide Slivers there. Those should be Metallic Slivers. You should have as many 1-drop Slivers as you possibly can. You'd be surprised how many games you're going to win with poison, as opposed to actual damage, just because you have so many low-to-the-ground Slivers that, most of the time wind up having haste. Gemhide does not belong in a 2-color Sliver deck. You get a 1/1 for 2. We have enough Slivers that are inherently 1/1s for 2. We don't need any more. These guys are also running these, I believe, to cheat, to have 20 lands. We're going to get into the land section when we get into the land section. I have things to say about that as well. I wouldn't play Gemhide. There's not a good enough reason. There's not a good enough argument to play Gemhide. They're going to play 4 Heart Sliver. Heart Sliver is a pretty good card. I run 3, but, whatever. That's fine. 4, 3, preference, right? Not a big to-do. You want 4 Muscle Slivers, it's a no-brainer. You want 4 Predatory Slivers, also a no-brainer. You want... What? Huh. That's really weird. This is the best card in their entire deck. I mean, I assume they've played this deck a lot, and they know that Hunter Sliver is the best card in their entire deck. So that's why they're running 3 of it instead of 4 of it, considering it's the best card in their deck. Let me be absolutely clear about something. The only reason, main deck, why you would play Green-Red Slivers over Green-White Slivers is for 2 different cards, Hunter Sliver and Lightning Bolt. That's what you get out of going red. You give up on a lot, right? But you get Lightning Bolt. It gets to go to the face. It's pretty good. They don't play it, but, whatever. We'll get to that here in a second. And, of course, Hunter Sliver, because Provoke is the nastiest ability. It is so good. It is unbelievably powerful, being able to control how combat works if your entire team has Provoke. A lot of times, it's an instant concession from the opponent. You were going to win a lot of games with this deck with Virulent Slivers, and you're going to win even more with Hunter Slivers, especially against a deck like Elves, right? That's just Hunter Sliver. They will just concede to you playing Hunter Sliver. It's pretty standard, actually, in my matches against Elves. It's an instant game over. You want 4 of this card. It's the best card in your deck. They only have 3 because they don't understand this deck at all, right? They have no clue what they're doing here. And they have not played any matches with this deck, to my knowledge, is my belief. Or else they would have 4 of these. And the primary reason why I'm sure they have not played actual matches with this deck is as follows. They have 4 2-headed Sliver. And somewhere right in here, I don't know the exact spot, we're going to find it. They talk about how good this is with Provoke. Let's listen to that.
A lot of elves that you just tapped for map. 2-headed Sliver, which is another Sliver for a colorless in a red 1/1. And it says that all Slivers you control have menace. So if you block, you're going to have to do it with 2 creatures. It, of course, pairs very nice with the First Strike and the Provoke.
Yeah.
It actually pairs incredibly poorly with First Strike and Provoke. First Strike and Provoke pairs amazing together. That is a match made in heaven. That is, mwah, you want First Strike and Provoke. It's the sweet spot. Menace. How does Menace work with Provoke? Well, let's find out. Oh, so I found someone who'd be willing to play with me until I tested this out. I had to actually buy some 2-headed Slivers from a bot because when I first built this deck, it had 4 2-headed Slivers, and after exactly 1 game, literally after exactly 1 game of playtesting, I took them out because it did not work well with Provoke. And I got to, like I said, I got a screenshot of this illegal block. He can't block, even though I forced him to block there. Even if I had played out this muscle sliver or pumped my dude, done what I needed to do, right? And if this were an actual game of Magic, you can see clearly this is not an actual game of Magic. We're just trying to get this message on MTGO. That provoke works terribly with Menace. Okay? I just got done having a 20-minute or so discussion with a level 4 judge, which he really enjoyed, and I didn't. I learned a lot about all the nuances with provoke and Menace. If my opponent has 3 creatures here, I can target each one of them with provoke, and it'll be a nightmare. I'm pretty sure if I have 3 creatures and he has 3 creatures, none of his dudes can block. That's my understanding of Menace plus provoke. So Menace trumps provoke in that instance, as it does here with just 1. Now let's say I send with 1 creature and he has 2 creatures. I can provoke and he gets to double block. I can target just 1 creature with provoke. Alright, so let's say I send 4 dudes into 2 dudes. And I have to target all 4 guys with provoke, but I can choose to use the ability or choose not to use the ability. If I choose to use the ability on one of the creatures, then the other creatures of mine will get through. He will be forced to block with this creature and his other creature, right, into this. So, these guys didn't go into any nuance in this description here. Menace plus provoke does work well in very specific contexts, right? But what happens if my opponent just has a team of dudes and I have a team of dudes? The answer is it's going to get messy really fast, and he's going to wind up making blocks that are actually kind of decent still, right, by virtue of double blocking. Where all I'm ever going to get out of that is, a 1-for-1 trade. First strike shenanigans notwithstanding. And they do say it works well with specifically first strike and provoke, that Menace works best with that. So this is the third pony on this show, really, by their own description. First strike and provoke is an amazing combination just by itself. But I want to be able to abuse that to the maximum. I don't want there to be contexts in which my opponent still gets to choose how they block. I don't want that. That's why I'm playing provoke. I don't want him to choose how he blocks. Menace makes it so that he still does, in a way, get to choose how he blocks in certain situations, and he gets to avoid blocking in other situations where provoke would just ruin his day. Right? This witch gets to live in this scenario. So, it actually becomes a headache. Having these 2 cards in the deck together becomes a headache, and frequently, it is a non-bow. If they had played a single game with this deck, I swear they would have noticed this already. Okay, I noticed it literally the first game I ever played with this deck that I made. This card's not good in this deck. End of story. If they played at least 20 games, they'd feel as I feel. I felt that way after 1 game. But I've played at a minimum 20 matches with this deck, and I gotta tell you, this guy's not coming back. And that's my main argument for these guys just not knowing what they're talking about. I mean, it really takes the laziness of this content to a whole new level. These cards are fine. You can play Spinneret Sliver. I don't, but they're good. They're a good card. It's fine. You can play that if you want. I don't mind one bit. It's actually an argument that I'm making a mistake by not playing it, and I'm going to think about that later today. Now, they have 3 Rancors, where I have 3 Mutagenic Growths. And they go into about how Trample is good, right? When they start talking about this card, they talk about how Trample is good. This isn't bingo. This isn't like Sliver's abilities bingo, where it's like, dude, did you have Trample? Bingo. No. You've already got Reach, right? Because you guys are playing Spinneret Sliver. You've already got Menace, which you don't need. Like, you guys just tried to see how many abilities you could just add to this deck with no real functionality or purpose within the context of Pauper's metagame. Rancor doesn't stop a lightning bolt on a Sliver Lord, okay? Rancor doesn't play well with First Strike in the way that Mutagenic Growth does play well with you. Rancor plays okay with Provoke at sorcery speed, obviously, as opposed to instant speed. So it does play well with Provoke there, but it's never going to be a green counterspell in the way that Mutagenic Growth can be. It's never going to make combat more interesting in the way that Mutagenic Growth does as an instant. It's never going to be good enough, I guess, is my final thought on Rancor. It's never going to be good enough. It's a suboptimal card choice. Laughably bad, in my estimation. They round out their deck with 2 copies of Flame Slash. Again, the only reason to play this deck in red is to play Lightning Bolt. There is an argument that this is budget MTG decks, and they're playing Flame Slash instead of Lightning Bolt because it's a budget deck. They're playing Ring Core because it's cheaper than Mutagenic Growth. It's not really that much cheaper, by the way. It's really not. It's hardly cheaper. And that's sort of, the reason for some of these inclusions. That's fine. You can make that argument that this is a budget choice. But at the end of the day, as the guy who made this deck, there's 2 cards you want. You want Lightning Bolt and you want Provoke Slivers. These guys have 0 Lightning Bolt and 3 Provoke Slivers, which is 3 of 8. Of the 8 cards that are mandatory includes from the red side of things, they've got 3 of them. That's less than half. So we're going to get into, you want 4 copies of Lead the Stampede. Everybody wants 4 copies of Lead the Stampede, obviously. So this mana base, right? This mana base is lazy, right? Obviously the videos, like the content itself is lazy, but like this mana base is incredibly lazy. And let me explain why this is. It's probably why they're running 2 gem highs. The fact that they're running 20 lands. They're running 20 lands without any copy of Gruul Turf. Having a Gruul Turf and any other land in your hand lets you keep your hand, right? In a way that having 2 mountains or 2 forests may easily be a mulligan in our opening hands. That's less likely if we have a forest and a Rugged Highlands and a mountain and a Rugged Highlands. Those are probably keepable hands too. And using that same logic, we want Gruul Turf to play the role of dual lands, number 5 and number 6, while also abusing the bounce land function, right? It's card advantage, right? You keeping a 2-land hand of any land, and Gruul Turf is better than any other combination of 2-land hands that you could keep, period. Gruul Turf is amazing, and it lets you sort of cheat on going down to 20 lands by running 2 of them, because you have their double lands. They will tap for 2 every time that you tap them. Not ramp per se. It's definitely not ramp, actually, to be specific. But, it is card advantage per se. And Gruul Turf's just amazing. At the point in which you probably do want to add Gruul Turf, you probably also want to abuse the edicts in the format by running Colony Garden and getting yourself some plant tokens, being able to rebuy that stuff. You probably... Well, no, let me go back. You have to play Teetering Peaks if you're going to play Green-Red Slivers, because Teetering Peaks is amazing with Provoke, and which is also really amazing if you have First Strike, right, to sweeten that deal. Teetering Peaks, making a guy bigger and then forcing a dude to block, is a good one. Having Gruul Turf lets you abuse Teetering Peaks more effectively. So, these guys literally just threw some lands in their deck, right? So, that's just disappointing. Like, more than anything. Even if these guys were experts on this deck and they had come up with the idea and everything, I mean, that's just lazy. That's just lazy. I mean, for you guys to have made this video, right? Like, you had to have considered you knew what you're talking about, right? Or at least you're pretending to know what you're talking about. And, like, when I see a mana base like this, like, it discredits you. Just your mana base itself discredits you. Discredits your understanding of Pauper, right? If this is a budget deck, argument cannot apply. Gruul Turf is a free card. Colony Garden, Teetering Peaks. These are basically less than a nickel a pop, right? They're pennies, realistically, if you were to order them or get them, right? You'd pay pennies. Online, they'd be fractions of pennies. They'd be 1/100th of a cent for all these cards online. So, the whole, where we got into, like, whoa, but this is budget MTG decks. When I had that argument before for maybe that's why they're not playing Lightning Bolts, that argument cannot be applied here. This is just a lazy mana base. Which is indicative of the video that they have made in general. Going on to their sideboard, Ancient Grudge is a good one. I want Gorilla Shaman. Let's not have a discussion on whether or not this is a budget deck. We're just talking Green-Red Slivers as a deck creator. I have a 2-2 split with Ancient Grudge and Gorilla Shaman. You want them for different things, right? They're better in some Ancient Grudges are better against Tron and against Boros, where Gorilla Shaman is better against Affinity, while still having application against Boros, although a worse application than Ancient Grudge would. But at the end of the day, Gorilla Shaman, you can find him on Lead the Stampede, right? He is a creature. We are a creature deck. So you definitely want some Gorilla Shamans if you're making this deck yourself. These guys play 3 Electrickeries. Elves is our best matchup. One of the main reasons to even play this terrible, terrible deck is that it wrecks Elves because of Provoke. So I don't think we need 3 of these. They're still good against Delver, but I'm always going to run Pyroblast as well. But again, you can make this can become about budget, but these are my recommendations for sideboard cards. I wouldn't play 4 Spinnerets in total. I feel like I probably want like a card they don't have in their sideboard, a card like Pyroblast, or maybe some Gorilla Shamans. things like that is where I would do with this spot in the sideboard. Totally down with Spinner in the main deck. I'm probably going to have a long, hard think about how to get him in there myself. Life Goes On is the only logical conclusion to have against Burn. I went into the logic with this in my video that I made of my undefeated run with green-red slivers. I went into why Life Goes On is the logical sideboard card. I stand by all those statements. It makes perfect sense. These guys agree. This is like that bingo sheet again. It's like, dude, how can we use our Gem High Slivers mana? Oh, we'll have Nihil Spellbomb. We'll totally have black mana to draw a card off of this. Yeah, you want to run Relic of Progenitus, just plain and simple. This is, again, falls in that category. Well, hey, this is budget. Nihil Spellbombs, they're cheaper than Relic of Progenitus, and they are. That's fair. But if you're not a blank deck, Relic of Progenitus, by and large, is going to be inherently better than Nihil Spellbomb in nearly every scenario that you can imagine, unless your graveyard specifically matters, right? Because this only exiles one target player's graveyard. Relic hits both graveyards. Not that you should never use your graveyard, so for any Slivers deck. So for us, we want Relic no matter what, unless it's a budget decision, and then they round that with Tranquility. That's fine. Bogles is super, super annoying to play against with green-red slivers. It's annoying enough with green-white, but we have Standard Bearer in the main deck, and we have Leave No Trace in the sideboard. So it's not too bad, but against green-red slivers, it's a nightmare matchup. You definitely want some Tranquilities, and that's fine. This is the best card in their 75. The fact they realized how terrible that matchup is, and they put in 2 Tranquility. Good call on that. So, in conclusion, I found this video to have many, many things wrong with it. It is my personal belief, for the reason I explained, these guys have not played this deck before. They are presenting a deck tech, which puts them into a position of authority for any audience that will stumble across this video. Based off of choices in their deck building, we can logically conclude they are not experts. So, you guys are a couple of chuckleheads. I honestly, though, I can't wait to see your video on Grixis Alchemist. I'll probably need to put up another 5-0 with it, though. You guys must have missed my list the first time. Maybe you can, make a deck tech on one of the other decks that I play. That's a fringe deck, and put some terrible cards in that one.